Hey Tarot fans, welcome to another edition of Blue Six Tarot. I'm your fantastic host Blue Six. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to this channel, please give me a subscription, thumbs up, and you can even leave a comment. I always try and reply to all the comments. And you can also follow me on the social medias. Now in today's video, we'll be covering an oracle deck of such complexity and beauty. We'll just roll on to the intro and go from there. So in today's video we'll be talking about the Angelarium, a deck of oracle cards that are so outstanding you'd want almost everyone as a poster. Now I know I've said this about a lot of the other decks I've reviewed, but still these are amazing, cool and awesome. Published by Le Scarabino. I know what you're thinking, another Le Scarabino deck? And the answer is yes, why not? Of course. So first of all, I need the measurements here. So it is almost 5.5 inches and by 4 inches. I have to get that bit out of the way. So it comes in the several different languages here. So come on. So if you speak one of those languages or read one of those languages, I think you're covered. So it's a nice little shell box here. I always like those. So we've got one of the pieces of artwork on the box. You can already understand why I decided to buy these. I literally, well, it's the same thing of, ooh shiny, I must buy. So you've got the nice little pull tab here, which always makes life easier. So, first off, I'm going to just quickly mention the book. There is not a lot of detail with this book. It just goes into, so you've got your separate languages here. Of course, you've got the name of the artist here, and I'm not even going to attempt the names. As I said, I have an issue enough reading English. I'm not going to butcher anyone else's language. So it just has another piece of artwork here. And then this goes into the explanation as to the author. So I shall leave that there, allowing you to pause to read at your leisure. And yeah, so. Now, what this deck is, it covers the Kabbalah, which is which is the tree of life in the Jewish tradition. So, and just the rest of this just goes into explanation of which card is what, etc. So first of all, I'd say these are not for beginners. There is a lot of stuff to go through there. So if you know the Kabbalah, you'll be ahead of the game here. But so we're going to have a nice look at the little back here as well, which looks really cool. Nice design. Put that a little closer there. So that does look quite cool. I'm quite fond of these. These are a deck of 33 cards. So as I said before, you've got on the book there, you've got the name of the artist and the illustrator. So there are his artwork is actually available. Oh, for goodness sake, stop going out of focus. His artwork is also available online. So if you do like the look of this artwork, you can check out some of his other stuff. So the card starts with Kether. So at the bottom it says the crown and spirituality. Now I'm not going to go into a big thing about the all the different tiers of the tree of life. That would be a very large video, and I'm not an authority on the Kabbalah, nor would I really. But I'm not really qualified to talk about the Kabbalah. But the crown is at the top. But the Kabbalah usually starts at the bottom with the root. So this is actually going from top to bottom, when the Kabbalah itself starts from the bottom and you work your way up. So you've got spirituality there. And first of all, that looks amazing. Most of these characters, if you're a video game fan, most of these things look like they'll be a character from Bloodborne or Dark Souls. So then we've got, once again, if I do mispronounce any of these words, I do apologise. So you've got the Chakraham, which is the right eye of wisdom. So you could kind of compare that to I can't remember Thor's dad's name now. Should know, but we'll just skip past that. It'll probably be edited back here or something. But yeah, so this artwork is just, as I said, this is a deck more for the artwork than for use, to be honest. That artwork looks amazing there. So then we've got Bina, which is the left eye for knowledge, which I always find interesting, because you've got the concept of wisdom and knowledge, which are different but the same. So this is the print on the front of the box. So we have Duff, I think this one is actually pronounced Duff, which is null, emptiness. Now, if you are a Salvador Dali fan, one you might be excited about some of the recent news, but also Salvador Dali fan, this is the sort of new age kind of concept that you would imagine he would sort of make now. He's still kicking about, but that I like the fact that that's this kind of emptiness in itself there. So then we've got Chi said, which is the right hand of empathy, and so obviously that's more connected with others. So that kind of has the kind of like an effeminate look to them, so you'd imagine them to be more female than male in this regard here. So then we go on to some of the harder words. So we go on to Gefra, the left hand of judgment. And I always find that interesting, that the left hand is judgment. So basically with the on the Kabbalah you've got 3 pillars where all 10 where all 10 sit, and so you basically go from middle left to right, and the left side is the masculine and the right side is the feminine. So which is why empathy is on the right side, whilst judgment is on the right. So masculine and feminine energies, and the ones in the middle are relatively neutral. So he kind of looks very you'd imagine that's the sort of thing that would come down during Judgment Day in the biblical sense. So then you've got Tifra, because don't pronounce the T here, Tifra, which is heart and of beauty. Now I think this one's quite interesting, because in terms of chakra, the heart chakra is listed as green, and I do like the fact you've got a nice green background here, and the fact that his chest is hollow but being filled. You can see that well? There you go, see a bit better there. So his kind of heart is empty and being filled. Well, at least that's how I interpret that one. So then we have Natsa, which is the right leg of endurance. So that's very reminiscent of the Greek god Apollo. Not Apollo. Brain's not on the right thing today. Atlas. There we go, Atlas. And as my dad always said, he's called Atlas because he never wore anything on his head. I love my dad. Right, so this kind of has like an Atlas sort of feel to it, where they're just holding up this dome here, and at the same time they're holding it up even though everything else about them is falling to pieces. And also, so far as I've read through the book, it has merely a description of who they are, but not necessarily an explanation of how they've been constructed or the idea behind of how they were made. So this information isn't actually in the handbook itself. So then we've got Hod, the left leg of submission. I wouldn't necessarily say that's anyone who looks specifically submissive in that regard, although I do like the part up here, which is very reminiscent of Ra and Isis, having the sun disk above their head. So I think that's pretty cool. So then we've got Yesod, which is the root. So we've actually worked from up to down rather than down to up. So we've got the root of connection, and the root is always the interesting part, like in any form of spiritual, because you always start at 0 and then you work your way up to 1, 2, etc. So that's the Kabbalah bit covered, but we've still got quite a few other cards. So what are the rest of these? I hear you cry out to your computer screen or your phone, depending on how you're watching this. Well, after I finish this one, my apologies, which you've got, I'm not going to pronounce that one. So you've got ground, which is kingdom, because you start at the kingdom. My apologies, I lost count there. So you start at the kingdom and you work your way up. So kingdom is kind of where you are at the moment, and that does also look pretty cool in the fact that you've got the concept of a human body just kind of in disrepair there, and you've got what looks like earth and roots kind of growing from here and carrying on. But so as I said before, I made the mistake of forgetting this card. The rest of these cards are angels of different descriptions. Once again, very Dark Souls, a lot of these. If any of you out there know Dark Souls, I've never played any Dark Souls or Bloodborne games, but there you go. So we're going to get onto the subject of very difficult and unpronounceable names. So I'm just going to skip the names if that's cool with you guys, just because I don't want to keep butchering different languages. So this one is the Angel of Heralds. And obviously the herald is the kind of like the announcer, as it were, to like the group, not what the group is, the people who arrive before the main event. They're the intro people, you know. I'm the herald of, well, like Silver Surfer and Galactus. Silver Surfer is the herald of Galactus. The herald arrives first, announcing the arrival of the main person. So that's pretty cool. I like all the kind of snake bits, and every time I look at that, I imagine that being hair in their way, but you can't really tell. Now, also, you don't actually get descriptions of who these are on the card. So it goes into detail in the book of who these people, of who these angels are, and what the sort of things they cover, because their name and title might not necessarily give away their actual purpose or function. So now we've got the Angel of Mysteries, and I like this one here. Once again, very not BioWare. I just keep thinking Dark Souls, really. So anyway, so this one has a kind of classic angel sort of look to it, but with a bit more cloth rather than armour, so I do like that one. It's pretty cool. And we've got the Angel of Death. I love the multi-wings. I'm always a fan of angels with more than one set of wings, so I love the multi-wings and the several hands. And the book, everything about this is kind of not quite how I'd imagine the Angel of Death, but at the same time it's not surprising either when you see them. I like the incomplete halo here, and there is sense of kind of rot and decay, but you've also got the apple, which is more of, I've always considered that like a sign of a fresh start, laying seeds to start again. So this is very, it does have like a very Death card feel. Now once again, in the book it will go into more detail to what this card actually means. Then we've got the Angel of Time. So I find this one quite interesting, because the concept of time outside of death is kind of an interesting concept, because you've got the Angel of Death, the Angel of the End, and you've got then the Angel of Time, which feels to me like it focuses more on the movement and the movement of time, and the fact that everything changes, rather than, whilst the Death card is about things ending, this is just about, feels like it's the things of just natural change. I do plan to use these more often. So next we've got the Angel of Night, which looks very, once again, really cool. Crescent moon in the background here. Incomplete halo, but they kind of look like they overlap. Also, I can't quite see it there. It kind of looks like they overlap, rather than just not complete fully. And the wings being by the hips, I always think are pretty cool as well. Anything that kind of breaks the standard tradition of angels, I'm always quite fond of. So you've got the Angel of Dreams. Now, I love the blues in here. Obviously, that being my favourite colour, but the shade of blues look amazing. The gold looks really good. Kind of a high fantasy. And the fact they've kind of got this bit here, which feels like it's just like them weaving the dreams, so they don't exist within the dreams, but they are the ones that make them. And I just think that's just really beautiful. So then we have the Angel of Rain. Now this surprised me when I first saw it, because the concept of an Angel of Rain doesn't make sense. Now, as I said, I've not read through the book fully, because unfortunately, if I just don't have enough time to keep reading every book from each deck. But this kind of has this feeling of purification, like a form of baptism, as they are kind of in a prayer. They look like they are praying, and obviously the water is coming down from their head over their hands. So this does have like a kind of baptism feel to it, and just kind of the idea of purification, which I also think is pretty good. And you've got the Angel of Flame, which has more of a kind of wrath, vengeance feel, on the idea of being able to examine passions. Now, as I said, I am skipping some names, so I can see this one says Uriel, and each of these angels do have an are associated with known angels. I would say that in air quotes, but I'm holding the cards. But these are established, as far as I'm aware, the names are established angels. But I do kind of like this kind of look to them. It kind of feels like it's the Angel of Wrath, but that's already taken further in the deck. But that does look pretty good. Then you've got the Angel of Divination. Now, depending on how you feel about the idea of angels, I would always imagine that this would be someone you would refer to or reference when about to do any form of divination, be it tarot, oracle, runes, etc. Because it's kind of like a patron saint in that regard, where I guess the only comparison I can make is the comparison to God. So you've got God, but you've also got patron saints. So people pray to God, but people also pray to saints. So it's kind of like you have spirit, and you talk to spirit, but at the same time you can also just talk to the angels as well. Now, I'm not going to go into my personal beliefs and stuff like this, and the concept of angels, spirits, God, etc. So I'm not going to go on that sort of tangent. But yeah, that's. I'd imagine that would be kind of like a reference point to some people before or after them doing divination without necessarily referencing spirit. So next we have the Angel of Vengeance, and I like the Angel of Vengeance because the Angel of Vengeance kind of looks like a Cenobite from the Hellraiser films. Once again, these wings look like they come from underneath their shoulder, underneath their arm, so that would be quite a pain to fly around with, but I'd imagine that's not too bad. I also like the fact that it's vengeance, but that it's got like a bladed sword, because when I hear stuff like vengeance, I would imagine more of the idea of them having like a large hammer or something, just to kind of cause more devastation and more pain rather than just swift justice. So that's just my opinion. So next we have the Angel of Song. Now I'm going to make a reference to this one because I did read up on this when I did a card for a friend, and they picked out Angel of Song, and because she was a music teacher. But when I read the book, this is why I say the names aren't necessarily, the description isn't necessarily accurate to their meaning. In the book, it's about the music playing before judgment. So if I was to compare this to a tarot card, this would be the Judgment card. So it's not necessarily about the concept of freedom of music and expression. This is about the last bells before all hell breaks loose. So in this regard, I think that she looks pretty cool with. I'm not quite sure what that part is there, but but I don't care that I don't know. It just looks really cool. So next we have the Angel of Memory. Now, I like the concept of having these strands or ropes, and just kind of the concept of every memory being attached to something else, and they are connected to everything known and forgotten. So they're not necessarily the Angel of Knowledge, but they feel like they have like an emotional connection with this as well. So they're not just So they're not just remembering history, they're remembering the emotional connection to that history. Now this guy looks, I can't think of another better term than this guy looks boss. So we have the Angel of Annihilation. So I'm a bit slow with that. The Angel of Annihilation. He looks like he's read it. This card just feels like, hello, I'm the Wrath of God. Nice to meet you. Now we're done. Yeah, this does have a very overbearing, overwhelming feeling of just, well, life was fun. Now for complete and total destruction. And I like how the light from the halo just implies that this guy's just hurtling down. He is here, he means business, and he's got his business suit on. So now we have the Angel of Snow. Now, once again, not having read the book, in this it has that feeling of, like the Angel of Rain, it has this feeling of purity, but not in the concept of purification, but more in the idea of things being untouched, virginal. And it does have this sense of purity in heart, and also just the fact, the nice combination, that a nice dark blue with the nice white, the light white bit of greys there. It does look really nice and peaceful, I'd say. Something you kind of hang up around Christmas. This picture. So now I have the Angel of Sky. This kind of has more of like a robotic look to it, personally. I like the halo being a representation of the sun, which always looks good when they do that, and the hoops kind of around their body, keeping them flight. I think that looks really nice, and just the clouds formation, just really good. Most good artists can do clouds. If I'm honest, I very rarely, if I see nice card artwork and they have clouds in the background, the clouds tend to look really good. Because if they can manage everything else, they should be able to manage clouds. Right, so we've got Angel of Visions. Now this feels more along the lines of, not necessarily divination, just more just this general psychic ability. So you know that this person is just absorbs, they pick up all of the energy and all of the future. Whilst divination, you look into the past as well, I guess. So this is just this is someone who kind of sees all what's going to happen and knows outcomes and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So next we have the Angel of Mercy. Now I think the Angel of Mercy looks cool because as I was just flicking, if you tend to get a new deck and you just have a quick flick through, but don't necessarily stop to focus. As you flick through, this looks like the Devil card in most tarot cards, and which is what I thought. I always think about that. I always think about that one. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's an entity of mercy. It's not necessarily anything that looks particularly comforting. But it also mentioned, but you have a scale here, a sword there, and I can't quite see what that is there, but there's something there, and they just have that look of they're being fair. And they're not just going with any instinct. They kind of like with justice. It's not necessarily about the emotional connection, but they feel like they want to. They feel like they want to hear you out rather than just go, okay, give me the facts and I'll let you know which one makes sense. But they don't have that look of comfort when it comes to mercy, which I think is interesting. So now we have the Angel of Punishment, which once again, when you've got the Angel of Vengeance, the Angel of Punishment seems a bit unnecessary as well. But I know who can really tell. We're talking about angels after all. And so this one, it's not as wrath-giving as the other cards, such as the Angel of Annihilation, or even the Angel of Vengeance. It does look quite swift. It does kind of like, it doesn't look quite holy, because obviously some of these angels look quite destructive and maybe demonic in some cases. But this one does. This one looks like it's trying to be holy, but not quite making it. But then, as is the artwork, it's just incredible. So next we have the Angel of Silence, and I don't think they're talking about that film. So they're kind of, there's not a, considering we can see all of them, there's not a lot of great detail in them. You've got the legs, the hair, but there's not a lot of detail on what's going on with them. It's more about the background. And at the same time, if you're the Angel of Silence, you wouldn't necessarily want to be or do anything that stands out too much, because you're in the background. So I think that's quite an interesting way to look at that one. Next, we've got the God of Verdancy. Took me a while there. Not quite the tree folk from Lord of the Rings, but that is definitely an entity that exists. That's not quite how you would imagine something like that. I mean, you'd imagine the growth and stuff, but the detail and the kind of imagination, in fact, a lot of these don't have actual faces, and the fact that the concept of verdancy wouldn't have a face, because it wouldn't. It would have awareness, but it wouldn't necessarily have, like, it wouldn't be that humanoid. And stuff like that would always be very difficult to do, I'd imagine. So we've got the Angel of New Life. And first of all, that looks like a bit of candy floss, cotton candy, but that's probably a rose. I like the idea that it's, because every time I look at this, I can never tell if that's one or two angels. But obviously by the description, they are one angel of two bodies. Kind of like a conjoined twin sort of thing going on. And everyone likes a new beginning, and it is very reminiscent of the Fall, in that they look like they are either stepping on or stepping off of this cliff, or they are just arriving and now discovering the world anew. So once again, there's a book. It probably won't go into detail about that, but these still are pretty cool. And so last we have the God of Truth. The God of Truth? The Angel of Truth. My apologies. This one looks probably the most alien-like, something you'd see in sci-fi. So with this kind of with this, there's a term for it, but I can't remember. But with this bowl of flame, with stuff burning inside, and the light above them, it looks like they are the sort of, it feels like that is the revealing light, and this is the smoke to remove any veil. And that always feels important, because the concept of being truth and finding truth is to illuminate the darkness and remove any form of distraction or illusion, such as the moon card, for example. And the concept of a physical concept of truth is something very hard to visualize. So that was a very long. That went a lot longer than I thought it would. But once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can follow me on the social medias. And I'll see you again soon. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up, like, share and subscribe, and hit that bell notification. The intro and outro music was Tetris Linear Groove, available on Overclocked Remix. Give that website a look, great stuff on there. And if you also like some of my other bits, you can check out my videos, and you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Tumblr, Sicx. I'll see you again soon. Thanks again for watching.